awesome.
So the next place we're going to go is just around who should facilitate or be driving those conversations. And to do that, we are going to introduce a model called the Working Genius model that kind of describes the different types of work and how that process flows. And so I want you to walk us through this, and then we will take it and apply it to those different conversations.
Would love to. So in the Working Genius model, the first way we get work done is in wonder. And I'm thinking about products, services, those types of things. It's probably the person that, right, was told at some point, stop daydreaming, right, get back to reality. But they're trying to find out, wondering out loud, hopefully not in their inside voice, about how could we get better. And then the next one is the invention. The person with the invention is taking the wonder from someone else, maybe even themselves, but they're starting to create processes and systems, maybe even products, strategies to get the organization better, maybe in their services that they're providing. And then you've got the person with discernment, and Rory described it really well earlier. I may say, yeah, that's not the right solution. Well, what is? I don't know. They probably can't always tell you why it's not the right solution, but they're discerning, is it the right solution? Do we even need this product in the workforce, in the world, right? You've probably walked through a store sometime recently and go, hey, like, that's cool, but I don't think anybody's going to ever buy it, right? Someone didn't have discernment on their team. Next one is galvanizing, and the galvanizer is going to be the one that says, by the way, you have to be careful, and I'll call myself out to not galvanize too soon. We need to make sure it's really the direction we want to go, but they're going to tell the team, hey, let's go take that hill. Let's get this system taken care of. Let's get this new app out. And they're really talking to those folks with enablement. And here, enablement's not negative. I'm not talking about an enabler. I'm talking about enablement. And the person with enablement, they're coming up and go, how can I help you get this done? They're the ones in the trenches, behind the scenes person that are doing the work around that project or system. And then you have tenacity. And tenacity, the person with tenacity is like, hey, we've got to get this done. We talked about it in meetings earlier. We've got to get this pushed across the finish line. And they're the ones really just getting the team towards the finish line for that. So we have wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity as the 6 gifts and or frustrations to getting work done. Great model.
Yes, I agree. And then I would take these and kind of give you 2 additional definitions. And so if I think about the 3 phases of work, ideation, activation, and implementation. So wonder and invention are those 2 activities in that ideation phase.
Right.
I'm responding to the environment and saying, what questions should I be asking? And then what solutions do I need to be creating? That is the ideation phase. Discernment and galvanizing is around that activation, saying, that's a great idea. Now let's go take that hill. So that's in the activation phase. And then the 3rd phase of implementation is that enablement and tenacity. So how do I move forward and get that implemented? So that would be one way to look at this model and say there's 3 phases of work: ideation, activation, and implementation. The other way to look at it would be there's really kind of 2 major kind of stages or phases of work, or that kind of stages of work, and it's wonder, invention, and discernment are around initiation. So that's creating a solution. And then galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity is around execution. It's around getting things done, getting things implemented. And so you've got phases of work: ideation, activation, implementation. And I've got stages of work, which is initiation and execution. And so now we're going to take this model and then look at types of conversations that I need to be having, either in meetings or in a type of meeting, to say, how would that work? In each genius, each working genius, those people that have invention as a genius or have enablement as a genius, they're going to be more excited and more integral to a conversation. And so if we think of just broad kind of strokes and just say, what percentage of my conversation on a daily basis or in meetings are going to be any of these? So brainstorming, decision making, and launching kind of conversations are really only about 15% of the time each. So a little less than half, I'm going to be having those kind of conversations of brainstorming, decision making, and launching. But then status checking and obstacle clearing is really that getting things done is going to be more than 50% of the time. That's what I'm going to be talking about.
Right.
And so from a working genius point of view, if I'm a wonder, invention, or discernment person, I'm going to love those brainstorming sessions or those brainstorming conversations inside that monthly strategic or that, quarterly offsite.
Mm-hmm.
But the invention genius should be the one that's driving the meeting. So they're the ones that are coming up with the ideas, responding to what the wanderer has, but then allowing the discerner to say, that's close, but that's still not the right solution.
Right.
But the inventor needs to be one driving that conversation. The second one of decision making, that's invention, discernment, and galvanizing. But the discernment person should be the driver in those conversations. So if I'm the leader and I have wonder and invention as my two geniuses, or I'm the leader and I have enablement and tenacity as my two working geniuses, I need to be in the decision-making conversation, but I don't need to be the one driving. It should be the person with discernment. Third type of launching conversations. So this is we're ready to go, right? That needs to be the discernment, galvanizing, enablement. Those three geniuses absolutely need to be in the meeting. So back to when I'm selecting who should be in the meeting and limiting the participants, I need to make sure that I've got those three geniuses in the room. If I know what we're going to talk about is what's the launch date for this new product or this new service. But the galvanizer, the person that says, let's go, they're the cheerleader. They're the ones that say, I can rally the troops and make this happen. They're the one that needs to be driving that conversation.
Right.
And then the final, that status check, obstacle clearing conversation, the three geniuses that have to be in the room are galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. But in effect, really everybody needs to be in there if we're doing status check on where we are. More than half of our conversations are going to be these. Mm-hmm. The driver, right, could be any of those three. It could be the galvanizer, the enablement, and tenacity. But I would say that, the one with tenacity is going to be the one that's the bulldog, the dog on the bone that says, no kidding, when are we going to get this resolved? What's the date? Let's make sure that this happens.
Right. Yeah, and that's great. And I think, right, for all those leaders out there that are watching, if you fall in one of those categories and you have another person, so let's go to brainstorming, and you have another person with invention, you do not have to be the driver of, and I would say it works better sometimes when you speak less. That way, if I have invention and I throw the idea out there, everybody more than likely, depending on your culture, is going to agree with me.
Right.
So Joe sitting next to me has invention and didn't say anything. Right. So let them speak. You can still facilitate it, but let them speak first. Because you'll get some even better ideas from your team that way.
All right. So hope